half to 3/4 of an hour, so Dan's going to try and keep you on track so you don't go over, and obviously we started a little bit sort of behind, because obviously the next session's due to start 9:30. So I do want it to be interactive, so there's different parts where I will ask for people to join in and give their opinions, so it's not just me reading from the screen. Okay. So obviously pin yourselves back and enjoy. Right, so obviously we did the first session, Simon and I, in January, and the idea was we were going to try and do them a bit more regularly than this. So from now onwards we try and do them pretty much like on a monthly or every couple of months, just so it's little and often until everyone's sort of on the same sort of page. So session 2. So just to remind from last time, obviously what is our goal and what's the purpose of this training? So obviously to create a culture where the customer service experience is legendary within the industry. You know, we don't just want to be average and okay, we want to be fantastic. We want people to say, you know, what do you think of Freight First, or the name, you know, as we were saying, like Aston Martin and, you know, Marks and Spencer, you know, you're thinking quality and you're thinking they're sort of leaders of what we do. Obviously consistency, it's the same high standard no matter who they deal with or what day of the week it is. So whoever picks up the phone, whoever takes the inquiry, even if they're not a salesperson or customer service person, there should still be a level of quality. The best companies that you go into, walk into John Lewis or whoever or wherever, they're always really professional, aren't they? And they're always really good, and you know, you don't, you know, we're only as strong as your weakest link, if you like. Outstanding customer service is the first thing that people think about when they hear our name, and we're famous for it. So that's obviously the purpose, that's what we're here for, and that's what we're aspiring to. So just to remind us of that, which was, you know, the start of the first session. So I thought this was quite important. Obviously when Simon, Kevin and myself first started Freight First, you know, these were the foundations that stuck in my mind, which are etched on, which, you know, is really what, you know, we're all about. So just to remind everybody, this is what we should be doing and this is what we should think of ourselves. So obviously outstanding customer service, as we've said, you know, we're industry standard setters, you know, we're not, you know, we're leading the way really long term as we grow bigger and we get to 10, 12 million. You know, we want people to be saying, you know, copying us really, you know, looking at our ideas. This is a massive thing when we first started and should be now and moving forward. We always used to say under promise, over deliver. So, for instance, if you've got a delivery, say, going to Germany, and you know it's going to deliver Thursday/Friday, you'd say to the customer, yeah, great, it's all booked in, done the collection, Thursday, Friday, knowing really that it's going to deliver Thursday. And then you'd obviously check on the delivery, go back to the customer and just say, said it'll be there Friday latest, actually it's got there Thursday. So that's an example of under promise, over deliver. So obviously you're not making yourself, you know, setting yourself up for something that's going to be a longer delivery, but you know, you're keeping something back to then wow them and say, actually, you know, that'll be great, and then people appreciate that. Do what you say when you'll say you'll do it. An obvious thing, but a lot of people don't. You know, if you say you're going to get back to somebody by 5 o'clock and you don't get back to them the next day, people remember that. The other thing I do is if you do it, you say, I said I'd be back to you by 5. You know, it's 4 o'clock now, just to let you know that, you know, I made sure that I got back to you on time, because that's dead important. That people remember when you don't, but you can do a nice little reminder. Speed of response. Again, we always used to write the time down whenever somebody had an inquiry. We still do it now. Used to write on the sheet, didn't we? Yeah. So you put, and also the time if it's a subcontracted job that you contacted the supplier, so you know how long it's been since you've had an interaction, because people, you know, do notice how quickly. Obviously the personal touch, you know, you've got to be genuine, we've got to care, it's got to come through, and obviously our personality, you know, it is the added difference. You know, you can aspire to a certain framework, but then it's down to the individual to make the difference. Obviously we spoke about wowing customers right from the very beginning when we set up the business in 2000. People do love it. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing. You know, we gave somebody had a cold and we gave them sort of Lemsips, just 3 Lemsips in an envelope, and she contacted us. She was like overjoyed. You know, it's just silly little things like that, but she was buzzing off it. And then people will be promoters. They'll then recommend you, and they'll then talk about those things, you know, because they're, you know, interesting things which other companies don't do, just thoughtful things. Obviously consistency, you know, it's no point in doing that type of you know, updating people one day and they're not doing it on the next job. It needs to be something that's done all the time. Obviously, honesty, that should be a given, really. You know, we don't want to tell people, you know, untruths if something's late or whatever. Best to sort of face it head on. Obviously, injection of humour. Not everyone wants to sort of have a laugh on the phone, but, you know, you adapt, and a lot of people do want a little bit of fun if the job's professional at the same time. Obviously, politeness. So, the next thing to involve everybody else is just, when I sent the email about the sessions that we're doing, just like the first time for the people who are in the first session, is just an example of great customer service that you've experienced yourself, and obviously how that made you feel, and did you tell people about it? So I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer something. It doesn't have to be here, it can be like in a restaurant, wherever, or something like that. If anyone's got any examples, anyone can think of anything that's happened all at once.
I'll tell you one first, then I'll start. Sure.
Please.
I've just bought a one of them steam, you know, one of them steam things
I like that.
that you detach and
Steam
do all that stuff. And I only ordered it this weekend, well, last week anyway. And I thought it was going to be ages to arrive, like a month or 2 weeks or something stupid. Texted me on Monday, it'll be a Tuesday, around Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Who
really?
did you order it from?
It was off the telly, one of them things, you know, the things you on the telly.
What, like QVC or something?
Yeah, an X5 something.
What was it, like a wallpaper steamer or a...
No, one of them cleaner things.
Oh,
you know,
steam
you
cleaner.
clean
Right, I didn't know from the Sorry. Should have known. Oh, that's...
Anyway, that was made up with it.
Yeah.
Because I thought it's going to take ages to get it, and it was here 2 days later.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
I don't know what's holding on about it yet, apart from you wanting it. So get older.
Where was it from?
Off the telly, that.
Well, you don't know
the
that.
channel on the telly.
I was just going to plug them.
There's about 1 million adverts, isn't there, on the telly?
Yeah.
So,
So you use them again whenever they work.
they're on every morning when I wake up. You can tell it on the night. So. Dream back.
Anybody else think of a...
I've got a bad one that was good.
Well, bad ones
Mine's
next.
too
You
long.
do the bad one in next.
Okay.
Good ones first.
Mine's the same, mine's a bad one that turned into a good
Yeah.
one.
But that shows you something as well, doesn't it? People
I've got
remember
a bad
bad
one.
ones. Okay, great, we've all got bad ones. Anyone got any positive ones?
It was me, wasn't it?
Any positive ones? Is
Write
that
mine down.
Because this proves the point as well, really, I guess, doesn't it, really? A lot of people remember the bad things and not necessarily the great service, unfortunately. No other good ones?
That's
Not
shocking.
bad, is
Okay.
it?
That's really bad.
We'll move on then. I'm sure there's been some good stuff.
And they didn't even
Right,
promise.
here you go, everyone will rush it.
I'll be fighting for it.
Everyone will go on this one.
So obviously share an example of poor customer service, which obviously loads of people have got. So do you want to go first then?
Yeah, I can do. So I went to Frankie and Benny's and ordered like a chicken burger. And I'm quite fussy on here, so I always check all the food next time.
Are you?
In case you didn't know. And so I bit like a bit of the chicken and it didn't taste quite right, so I opened it up and it was like raw, but fleshy raw, not just like a bit. So I didn't really want to cause a massive scene, so I thought, right, I'll just eat my chips and get on with it. Save a bit of room for today. So, so when the man came over to say everything, I thought, oh, I'll say it now. So no, blah, blah, blah. And so he was dead nice and he was just like, oh, do you want me to take it away? I was like, no, it's alright, I'll just eat my chips and think it. And he like insisted, took it away, gave me a new one. I didn't really eat it all because obviously I was quite full anyway from the chips, but he was like overcompensating for it, kept coming over, speaking to us, and then had a bit of a laugh with us about the dessert and stuff like that. Then the manager came over at the end and she was like, oh, I spoke to the people, you know, who cook it, blah, blah, blah. I took like the money off the bill, didn't pay for it. And then gave us like these free tickets for the Sea Life Centre. So yeah, it's good.
But, so that's obviously it's a poor example, but then he's actually done something about it, hasn't he? So
Yeah.
he's turned a negative into a positive then.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when you went away?
Well, I would have gone back anyway, but...
Don't mind Don't mind raw chicken.
It wasn't really about like the free meal either, or like the tickets he gave. It was like how they dealt with it.
Yeah, that they were bothered
Yeah,
about it.
that was good. Yeah.
But then to give you something a bit extra as
I
well
know.
to make up for it, and even if you didn't eat all of the other one, that's another good example really of how you can turn a negative into a positive, isn't it? So at least that's a positive thing off the negative stuff. Who else had you had a...
I had one. Not that we're fat or anything, but mine was a Frankie and Benny's as well.
Is this the same day?
Yeah.
It's all Frankie.
Took our order dead quick, which was good. Had to wait about 45 minutes for our starters, and I'd mentioned, I said, oh sorry, we're still waiting for our
It's a
starters.
long time, isn't it?
So it was fairly busy, but other people around were eating and leaving
Yeah.
while we were waiting. So then he came back and said, oh, we're short staffed and yours is still in the oven. I was like, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
But anyway, brought it in the end, then got our mains, and he tried to come back later on and he tried to take my plate away and I was still eating, and he was just a bit awkward. We made it quite clear that we weren't very happy. But then he came, as we finished our main, we were about to leave and pay. Then he rocked up with some free desserts and just gave them to us, and it was nice. And then he said he gave us 25% off the bill as well, so it was a crap service at first,
Yeah.
but then he kind of recovered it, and he was quite, I'm really sorry, I know you've been waiting. And then there was another girl that came over as well, and she was like, I know your waiter said, you've been waiting a long time, so giving you free desserts and the money off the bill, so.
So did they turn it round enough though? Was it because you
Yeah,
challenged
well, I
it?
texted you over that, I was saying, I'm having a horrible time, thank you, Rennies. But yeah, I kind of felt, because obviously I was bitching about him, so I was like, I feel quite bad for saying that now, because he's obviously recovered it so well, but
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's a
so
negative
he
into
left you on a
positive.
high then?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't, and it wasn't because you just challenged and challenged that they did it?
Well, we didn't really, we mentioned that it was late, but we didn't keep saying, we didn't make it verbally clear, do you know what I mean? We just
Yeah.
sat there in a mood. So he quite voluntarily brought us the
Yeah.
desserts, and we're like, oh no, we didn't order this. He said, no, it's on the house.
I think that's important though, isn't it? It's like if we had a complaint, then it's obviously making sure that you follow the actions like our processes, and that you overcome and then leave them with on a high really, and then people can have an even better opinion of you after that. So, well, too
But
bad
we've been
for
back.
I was going to say, don't be put off breaking ready because we still love
It's
it.
really good.
So obviously done something right if you still say go
We
back.
still go.
Who else? Do you have one as well?
Yeah, mine's dead straightforward, and it ties in nicely with when you sort of do what you say when you're going to do it. I'm looking to move house. I rang an estate agent on Monday morning, and I wanted to view somewhere at tea time on Tuesday. And that's the only slot I had, so that's the only slot I've got this week, tea
Yeah.
time on Tuesday. The guy said, I'll speak to the landlord and I'll ring you back this afternoon. Didn't ring back.
Yeah.
Chased him late afternoon on Monday. He said, I've not got him yet, I'll ring you back when I get him. I'm still waiting.
Terrible.
Today's Thursday.
That's shocking.
Just a call, just say,
Yeah.
I can't get in for this reason.
Yeah.
Shocking.
You set yourself up for a fall if you say you're going to do something, so I tend to write it down or record it, where I'm going to do it, and even put like an alarm or a message or a post-it, just like in massive letters to say phone someone back, because it's terrible,
Just the
isn't it?
simplest thing, just ringing somebody back.
Yeah, it's worse than saying you not saying you did.
Shocking.
Yeah. So would you still deal with him because of the house, or
Possibly because the house.
That's a bit different, isn't it?
My opinion of Swetnams in Frodsham now is very poor.
yeah, that is and
That's
obviously
Swetnams in Frodsham, by the way.
that's the thing as well, when you do have bad service, or even if he'd have got back in touch and then overcome it and then really being back on the ball after that, but the fact that he's not been in touch, he's obviously got too many things going on, but as soon as it goes quiet he'll probably come back, which is what people do. We need
And
to
the
be,
impression he gave me as well, just to make it worse, the impression he gave me is he didn't care.
yeah, probably because he's too busy right now,
Just
isn't
not
it?
the vibe that
When he goes
very
quiet again,
blasé.
yeah.
very blasé.
Because when it goes quiet, he'll probably come back and go, do you still want that? And he'll have almost, it's very short-sighted. So, but then again, now all the negativity, you tell people, there's like 10 people here and whoever else.
Swetham's Frodsham, but
Any other ones?
Yeah, I've got a really bad one. I ordered some flowers for Vicky at Trad for her birthday.
Oh yeah.
They arrived 3 days late. Flowers were lovely anyway, she sent us a lovely email. But basically I complained, just to see if I could get the money back. They said they were dealing with it. I've not had any emails, I've had to chase them every day. They won't answer my phone calls, literally just, the wording of the email is like a child wrote it. So I'm furious, so I've took it up with my credit card company now. But
And is that a major high street company, or is it a local?
it's more of a local one, but I think it's bigger than what I thought. So I
Right.
was going to do just, like a local florist. But no, I've been on the website, it's just terrible testimonials. I think I wish I'd have seen them before I'd have ordered, I would have ordered them somewhere else. So,
But again, I guess
Not
that, I
really.
guess that's the thing as you get
Really
bigger as well, isn't it? That things aren't too automated,
Yeah.
and that you're not just, you know, your email's almost lost
Yeah.
somewhere in another load of emails.
Well,
and
they were
stuff,
just
so.
saying I was emailing the wrong email address. The person that answered the phone couldn't deal with telephone queries. They only took orders. Well, how's a customer supposed to know that? Do you know what I mean? So.
Well, they're making excuses, aren't they, for poor service and trying
Yeah.
to excuse themselves when really they should be putting it right.
I
But
know.
yeah, it's a shame. Obviously,
Really
getting a certain amount of
disappointing.
business, aren't
Yeah.
they, naturally
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get something like flowers, if you don't get them within a day or so, or
I
for your
know.
birthday,
3
the whole
days
thing,
Yeah.
is really
It's too
fine.
late.
the whole thing's gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, luckily I put on the card, hope you had a lovely birthday rather than happy birthday. So it's good really
Yeah.
because obviously it's a thought that counts, but I'll never use them again, and I'll tell everyone. I told that at the office.
Well, that's the thing. I guess the obvious thing out of the poor ones is you know how it makes everyone feel. You feel let down. You feel fed up.
Yeah.
You spent your hard-earned money, and then you've had a terrible time. Especially if you've gone out and had a meal. You know, you're looking forward to it. It should be great. Nothing should go wrong. You know, but when something does go wrong, because it does happen, then it's how people put it right. And if people tell you you've got the wrong email address, so it's the wrong person, that's not.
Yeah.
Whoever takes the call should take responsibility, even if it's not them. It's their direct job, because they don't
Yeah.
want to hear, oh no, it's not Yvonne, it's Chris, but he's away from the office till next week, he'll call you then. They want it done now, don't
Yeah.
they? So
Yeah.
you take the initiative, don't you, and then behind the scenes, whatever goes on, goes on. But and then people tell lots of people the negative side.
Definitely.
But obviously, if you do deal with it right, like Jenna and Becky's, then people, you still go back, and you've still got a high opinion because they put it right, because things do go wrong. Okay. So on from that, let's get the basics right. So obviously, let's say yes most of the time on our own services, and make sure we're offering an alternative. So just an example which I think had come up this week. So somebody asked for an Arctic vehicle, and we didn't have anyone in the area because it was a bit remote, but offered them an 18-tonner, and you know that was something that they were interested in, even though it was less, because it's the majority of what they still needed. So obviously you're not offering them the wrong thing, but it's better to offer something than nothing, because quite often if you do offer someone a smaller vehicle, they sometimes can still do it. Or can I collect in the afternoon and deliver tomorrow if they've said it same day? I'd say probably half the time people will probably accept that alternative offer. But a lot of companies, when I phone round, if it's a subcontracted job, can you do it? They'll say no straight away, and it's almost us that have to say, well, what else? When can you do it then? Because a lot of people just let that inquiry go. Well, we should be saying, you know, if we can't exactly do that, then will this or this do? And people do accept it half the time. So just make sure we're investigating into those things. Obviously, we give customers a lot of attention. You know, we're in touch regularly, not just when we need their business. We should be regularly talking to them and not wait until it goes quiet. We should be in touch. So obviously all these things tie in. You know, we make it as personal and individual as possible. You know, it's not to prescribe just a cold, you know, false sort of hi, you're welcome type of service. You know, we make them feel sort of special and important. And you know, I hear conversations through everybody where they'll sort of say, you know about people's family, and you know, obviously the lady you got the frame for, the gentleman you got the frame for.
Oh, yeah.
So you've listened that they've had a baby, and that you've sent them something. I mean, that's making it personal, isn't it? And you know, you're taking notice of them. Obviously, as we said, keeping our promises. All these little things, which might seem a bit throwaway, do add up to a lot bigger picture. So if you're doing little things, little and often, then people do, it's like a snowball, people do take it on board, and people do take notice of it. So just those little quick calls back, or, you know, I haven't got your price yet, but I'll come back to you with an hour. Is that okay for you? Yes or no? Yeah, it's fine, I actually don't need it till the end of the day. You know, people do, it shows that you're paying attention. Sorry. Obviously, again, you know, we're highly consistent. There's you know, as we said, there's a theme obviously running through this, that we're not just up and down in our service. It's got to be, you know, the same level. Obviously, we all have good days and bad days, but you know, we've got to have a certain standard. So you know, they're not getting a poor version of us one day and then we're great the next day. You know, we've got to sort of be professional. So whatever's happening, you know, you're giving them a sort of consistent level of service. So a little bit of market research. that I've sort of found. So for every customer complaint, there are 26 other unhappy customers that have remained silent. That's the actual body that's done this research. I'm not exactly sure who they are, but you know, it's actual. But I mean, that's an awful lot of people who don't tell you when they're unhappy, because people don't really. I mean, we've all said now, but I've asked you, and obviously you will perhaps moan to your individual friends or family. But you know, if people are customers, they'll just go, sod you, there's someone else out there that does a similar thing. And you know, they'll vote with their feet. You know, they don't always. Some people don't think their complaints will be actually upheld. So, 2% increase in customer retention has the same effect as decreasing cost by 10%. So just by obviously making sure and keeping your current customer base happy, obviously that's you know, makes a massive difference. So I think again, you see it with phone companies, people get complacent. They think they're a customer already, won't offer them the best deals, or won't offer them the best service. They're almost like they're just going to stay with us, but people don't. You know, you've got to keep in regular contact and keep people happy. Again, sort of links on from the top one. 96% of unhappy customers don't complain. However, 91% of those will simply leave and never come back. That's a massive level of people. You know, people aren't gonna. It's up to us to find out and to hopefully not let them get to that stage in the first place. But sure, we've all took our cars to garages or gone somewhere and you've had bad service. You know, you wouldn't necessarily talk it through with them until you just go, right, I won't use it next time. You don't get that chance to put it right, so we've got to be on the ball. Happy customers who get their issue resolved tell 4 to 6 people. So I guess, like with Jenna and Becky, then, you know, obviously if you do get a good experience and someone does put it right or notice, then obviously they will tell some people about it. So you can turn a negative into a positive. And then quite a powerful one as well at the end. 70% of buying experiences are based on how the customer feels they're being treated. So again, all of these things that have been talked about before, you know, little things, you know, how's the family remembering birthdays, their child at a football match or a birthday or whatever, you know, all these things being connected to them and building that rapport and being genuine, people are probably, you know, then more likely to sort of stick with you and spend more money and come back to you automatically because you've got that sort of bond. You know, I think you almost switch off a little bit to cost and you just think, you know, I'll deal with Kevin, he's great, he always does what he says he'll do and he's always happy, he's always in a good mood, he's always consistent, I always can get hold of him, you know, he doesn't forget about me. So, anybody got any thoughts on any of those things?
The thing that springs to mind with me is that if 96% of unhappy customers don't complain, that shows how important customer service calls are,
Definitely.
customer service questionnaires, just to try and tease it out of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really important.
Yeah, you can't assume that people are just going to stick with you and are going to carry on coming back. It's got to be little and often. And that's the thing, you know, you can't just rely on people returning. You've got to find out what's happening because people might actually be unhappy and you don't know about it. So again, it sort of links on really. This is some other research surveying why customers do take their business elsewhere. So, you know, why some of the reasons. So obviously a massive percentage from this research because of an attitude of indifference toward the customer by the owner, manager or employee. So obviously someone's having a bit of a ding-dong or, you know, perhaps falling out about a particular job without seeing the bigger picture. And you know, they've sort of voted with their feet and gone off. So a clash of personalities. Might not even be the account manager. Might have been someone that phoned in. You're not in the office, and they talked to somebody else. And they've just thought, you know, you're rude, or you know, you've not dealt with it quickly enough, or whatever. And then you've almost burnt your bridge there. That's a massive amount of people. If someone, you know, gave me bad service or was particularly rude, then I would really question whether you'd go back. 14% dissatisfied with the service, 9% leave for competitive reasons, 5% find loyalty in a competitor, 3% move away. So obviously the point with that little you know, picture there is obviously complaints. You know, not many really people complain. Obviously there's a huge amount of people which just remain silent and just don't give you a chance to do anything about it or just disappear and don't come back. But I think quite a surprise in that research really is 9% leave for competitive reasons. Because I think most of the time when you hear, I'm not on about us in general, but when you hear people say they go, oh, they're cheaper, they've used them because, you know, that they're going on cost, when really that's probably not, you know, cost is always a factor, it's not really the main reason. You know, people tend to leave because they're not having the attention, or they're not being dealt with quickly enough, or service is poor. So price becomes less of an issue really. So I think that's a really important thing to sort of bear in mind really. People do forget about cost if everything's running smoothly, you know, if it's a sensible thing. Any sort of thoughts on any of those things? Any surprises for anybody? Or no? So I thought this was quite interesting. So obviously all the customers that we've got are very important, and some of the customers on this slide obviously aren't the customers that give us the most work. So what I'm not saying is our big customers are all we're going for. Doesn't matter if it's a guy that's a one-man band and he's, you know, giving us lots and lots of work. But I just thought, we're turning over about 3.5 million, obviously we're trying to grow to 12. But some of the companies that we're dealing with are blue chip companies, are massive entities, global, not just national. And I think we should be proud that we're dealing with some of these companies and that they're happy to trust their work to freight. Firstly, relatively, you know, still a relatively small business, which obviously got big aspirations. But I mean, dealing with somebody that turns over 10 billion is pretty impressive. Obviously, the industry, another chemical company, 300 million. They're an international company. Sigma Aldridge, I think they've been taken over by Merck, so actually even bigger than that. Crown Timber, Deborah Services, construction, obviously put the industry in there as well. Promans, packaging company. 151, distribution, wholesale. So, you know, deliver to all the sort of outlets like Home Bargains and Poundland and all those places. The construction, Montreal, furniture. So, I mean, there's probably other ones in there similar size, but there's 10 customers that we've got who are real heavyweights, which we should be proud to be dealing with, and obviously they're only dealing with us because we've got that quality. So I don't know if everybody's all aware of those sorts of people and how much they turn over, but as soon as I start dealing with a company or think I'm going to get some business, you know, credit check them and sort of see what sort of financial position they're in. As I say, we've got a lot of small customers that give us more work than some of these, but I think that's quite impressive, that. I don't know what anyone else thinks. You should be proud of that, really.
I don't recognise 151 products as being one of our customers.
Well, yeah, they've given us a couple of jobs recently. They're a new one,
Yeah.
but it's all fast-moving goods. They do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So I say to Poundland and Home Bargains and places like that,
Okay.
and to retail and stuff. So they do like a massive wide range of products.
Yeah.
So
151.
yeah, 151. Probably more than that now. So are you the best version of you each day? I think Simon and Dawn and myself, we went to a seminar sort of earlier this year, I think it was, and there was a gentleman there who was saying that's a really good thing, I think, and I do think about it personally each day. You know, are you the best version of you? Because you can aspire to take some attributes from other people, but at the end of the day, it's you yourself. But I won't read through all of those things, but those are, you know, massively important sort of factors. You know, each day we should be sort of really analysing ourselves, you know, certainly a couple of times a day, and just thinking, actually, am I firing to the best of my ability today? You know, and just reset. 'Cause we've all got things going on outside work, but when you come through the doors, you know, trying to think, am I actually Chris on top form? Am I just sort of plugging along today? And then sometimes that can just make you a bit sharper. But you've got to want to perform, you know, to the top of your ability.
Do we have to say Chris? So, can we not just say ourselves?
You can say Dawn if you want.
Okay, all right.
It's a bit controversial, but... So obviously, outstanding service is what we're all about. This is another thing that I genuinely think about as well. Would you deal with you? You know, if you think about your inquiry when someone phones in and you're speaking to somebody, if you actually really think, how am I dealing with that person? How am I coming across? You know, would you deal with you? Are you that good? You know, seriously, I think it's quite an important thing, really. You know, and I think that sort of sharpens you up a little bit, because we all, you know, want great service when we're speaking to you know, getting our cars booked in or getting our phones changed or whatever, and you get, you know, if you get someone on the other end of the phone who sounds disinterested or a bit lazy, you know, are you sharp enough, or are you that person who's a bit disinterested at times? So I think that's quite an important thing to think about. You know, and are you performing at a high level the majority of the time? That's what we need to aim for, you know, that consistency. And again, obviously we're trying to make sure whoever has an inquiry throughout the business, whoever they deal with, whether it's an account, you know, someone in accounts picks up, Dan picks up the phone sometimes, you know, obviously he's, you know, in his marketing position, whoever picks up the phone or takes an inquiry if we're low on numbers, you know, it's got a direct impact on service. And even if I'm asking, or someone else is asking a colleague internally for something which means that it's going to have a direct output on service, you know, if it's a query, a POD or something like that, you know, are we sort of responding quick enough internally? Because it's all got an output to the customer at the end of the day. So quick response and great teamwork internally is essential. And sort of treat each other like customers. I don't mean be false with each other. I just mean, you know, if you say if Yvonne asks me something about who to phone or, you know, something like that, I don't, you know, obviously you might be busy right in the moment, but, you know, need to come back to you quickly so then you can action your customer. So we're all, you know, working together as a team. So you know, even if someone's not customer facing, what you do has an impact on, you know, what the customer receives. So I think that's important to think whatever your position is. Again, sort of, you know, if someone's in touch, you know, obviously the clock's ticking, people are waiting, people want to get on with what they're doing. You know, booking transport's probably one aspect of what they do. They've probably got a whole host of other things. There's not many sole people that just do transport in a company. There are some in big companies. So they're just thinking, come on, I need my price, I just need to know, can you do it? So obviously, you know, if we've got a lot of inquiries, but we still need to be keeping an eye on the time and thinking, are we getting back? So whether it's a quote or a query, also qualify how quickly do they need it. You know, sometimes people say, yeah, I don't need it for a bit, but then, you know, we can under promise and over deliver. Don't need it until the end of the day, so you haven't got to bust your gut, you know, but you still want to get back to them nice and quickly and impress them. So you say, okay, I'll get back to you by the end of the day, but you might get back to them, you know, if it's in the morning by lunchtime or within an hour or something like that. Obviously, sort of mentioned that before, put yourself in the customer's shoes. You know, are you seeing things from their perspective? Really important, because we might think we're doing something quite good, and actually the reality of it when we do a questionnaire or something like that is they might be saying, well, actually, no, you're quite slow at coming back, you know, you've really got to think, you know, are we seeing it from their side of things? Obviously, I think sometimes when people mention customer service as well, it's almost a bit of an intangible thing. You know, it's a bit like people saying about wine, you can be a bit snobby about it, but customer service, anybody can provide a high level of customer service if you follow those things, if you're consistent, if you care, and if you keep an eye on the time. So it's not really that complicated. It's just a case of some people are better at it than others. It's just really wanting to have high standards. Bit of an odd thing to put on, but I think in your home life there's still sort of an element of sort of service and interaction between people. And your family and friends, what frustrates you most is probably the people that you get on best with, the people that sort of tell you, you know, you're coming around tonight, don't know, I'm not coming. You know, or, you know, the people who sort of get back to you quickest are probably the people that you sort of tend to get on best with, the ones that don't mess you around, basically. So there's a bit of, just trying to highlight a little bit of that, it relates to work, obviously. I think the other thing as well is you need to be excited, or we should be excited and proud of the standards, and obviously important to be proud of where we work. I think if people don't want to adhere to the high levels of customer service, and you know, and you're not proud to work at Freight First or whatever business it would, obviously it's Freight First, you know, then you shouldn't be here really, should you? You know, you should be passionate, be thinking, yeah, you know, I thrive on those high standards, I enjoy it, and I'm proud to do it. I mean, would you want to be in a business where people are going, just get back when you can, oh yeah, he's been on hold for a bit, just, you know, whatever, just finish that off first? Because there aren't places like that. You know, we need to be proud and excited that we're, you know, pushing the boundaries and that we're on a mission, literally. Again, quite often it's the little things that make a big difference and things that others don't hear and see. So always do them, it does count. You know, there's loads of things I'm sure that everybody does day to day, which people are probably thinking in the back of their mind, oh, no one's seen this, no one's really noticed. But if you carry on doing it and you're consistent, it is clear. People can tell who the best performers are. People can tell who does, you know, those things regularly. And obviously people don't see everything amazing that you do, but it does come to the surface and people will notice long term. It's like class is permanent, form is temporary. It's carry on doing the right things, it does come through. So, in summary, obviously, the outstanding customer service is the first thing that people think about when they hear our name. We're famous for it. So obviously that's our goal. That's what we should all be striving for, whatever area of the business. You know, we're all contributing to that. Under promise, over deliver. You know, to give an example before, you know, don't set yourself up for a fall. You know, try and impress people and try and, you know, build that into your day. Do what you say when you say you'll do it. Massively important. You know, no one likes to be let down. And if you tell someone something and you don't do it, it's just set yourself up for a fall. It's massively disappointing for everybody. But obviously, if you are on track to do what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with a polite reminder, just saying, as promised, I said I'd be back. I said I'd do this, or I said I'd deliver then. You know, you can sort of be proud of telling them. Should be proud, obviously, to work for Freight First, and hopefully with the culture and everything that we're trying to bring and Sam's trying to build, you know, should enjoy working here. You know, hopefully a place where everybody's promoting and, you know, saying, you know, what a great place to work, and hopefully people want to join us. You know, I've had probably half a dozen people genuinely contact me and say, are there any jobs going from customers that I deal with? Because they've seen updates on LinkedIn and they've seen the sorts of things we're doing, the fundraising, all the fun stuff that we're doing, as well as working very hard. And people, and that's a nice thing, because, you know, you then obviously, people coming to you, and it's obviously, you know, you know, recruitment as well, cost. And obviously be the best version of you each day. So, you know, you can aspire to take little bits of other people, but, you know, you're obviously ultimately your own person, so you know what you're capable of, and the standards that we're trying to achieve. And just think each day, you know, just at little points, you know, am I performing at the best that I can achieve each day? And it's quite a good little sort of yardstick, if you like, for are you on top of things. So I think that's everything. Has anybody got any sort of questions or anything else they'd like to sort of say? Or?
Do you know when you said ask, see whether we can offer them something else?
Yes.
Do we offer our subcontract services? Because if we can't do it on our fleet,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
always worth saying, can our subcontract department help you?
Definitely,
It's
yeah.
another way, isn't it? Because first priority is filling the fleet.
Yeah.
Second priority is getting everything else out of them that we can do.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, great point. I think there's certain customers, and again that's knowing our customer base and knowing the customer and the product. Certain people we should know which ones of those can be subcontracted. But yeah, I mean, you can make really good margins and do things like that. So yeah, straight away, if we can't offer an alternative vehicle, is that a customer? Is it feasible to outsource it? You know, as long as it's safe, it's a reliable company. Because yeah, you can still make a great margin, you can still get the business. Obviously, it builds our freight forward inside. So you should definitely be thinking of that as well, as you say. So, hopefully, it was fairly interesting.
Well done. Thank
No,
you.
it was, Chris, thank you, it was great. Do the guys know about the outcome of the customer service question?
Not just yet, no.
They don't? Can we share it now or not?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Dan, about 3 weeks ago, I think, did a customer service questionnaire, sent it to, just